Hello and welcome to Excel versus ChatGPT. My name's Jeff, I'm glad you're here. Let's just jump right in. In this short video, we're gonna have a text file and we're gonna try to accomplish a task. So we're gonna look at using Excel only, and then we're gonna look at using ChatGPT only. If we wanted to use an LLM with Excel, that's like where Copilot lives. Let's start with our first exercise, exercise 1. All right, here's the text file. We have this text file and what we wanna do is create a total for each month. So let's start with Excel. First, let's copy all this. I'm going to Control-C copy, head back over to Excel, and paste. Okay, so how might we approach this? Well, this is Excel, so there's many different methods that we could use. Now, I don't think we could use a sum function on this original column because of all of the text involved, so that's not going to work. So we need to really split this into individual columns. So one option we might explore might be something like text to columns. We'd go to data, text to columns, we'd say it's delimited, and the first pass we'll use a colon and finish. All right, that sort of worked, but not really. Then maybe we do text to columns again, and we use plus. And then we might have to manually correct one of these. This looks like 68, 90, and 960 and 20. And then we might delete all this stuff. And then maybe we do like a sum of these columns and fill this down. That might be an approach. I'm going to undo all this stuff and let's see if there's a easier way in Excel. Maybe we use flash fill. So we go 8433, and then we flash fill it down. Okay, and we're not getting any pattern for it to discover. So that's not going to work. Maybe we use a formula, like maybe text split. Here's the text. What's the column delimiter? Maybe we start with the colon. And what if we fill this down? So that kind of works, and that looks kind of like what we got with text to columns. Except for now this is a formula, so I don't know how that's going to look. So, And I'm sure there are other methods to try as well. We could dabble with Power Query and that type of thing. But let's just face it, this data is not perfectly clean, and a lot of times we deal with data that's not perfectly clean. When it is clean, it's amazing. But here we have to sort of clean it up. So maybe I'll just go back to text to columns for now. First we'll use that and finish it. Then we'll grab this column, text to columns. We'll use a plus, finish that. That's at least a decent start. Now how do I get this stuff over here? I really hate to have to retype it, but let's just do it because we're on the clock here. And I don't even know what's going on here. Let me look back at my original text file. Okay, so March is just 7925. So let's come back over here and we'll go 7925. And this label should really just be MAR. Okay. And then what we might do is we might do a little like crossfoot, something like this. Fill this down. And then we might do a foot. So we get 72106. So you get the idea. With this data set, and yes, I intentionally made it a little messy, this might be some of the approaches we'd use in Excel. Let's compare that to ChatGPT. All right, I'm going to say provide the monthly total for this data. And I'm just going to paste it in and go. Okay, the total sum for the given monthly data is 72,106.18, which I actually think is 72,106.2. Let's see if we increase the decimal. 72,106.18. Okay, so we're getting the same total, but this isn't what I want. I want it show each month total. Now it's giving us the monthly totals. And let's compare that to Excel really quick. 8433, 8912, 7925, 7615. So those are looking good. But I don't trust just having the total. I want to see the details. So give it to me in a table and include a column with the individual components. so I can ensure you give the correct monthly total. Okay, now we have the original amounts as well. That way we can audit it back to the text file and make sure everything looks good. So for example, February is 8827.3550. 8827.3550. And then we get a couple of single numbers, and then May we have 6890, and May 6890, 96020. 96020, that looks good. Okay, and then we have it. So we could technically copy these results, we could download it, and we could continue dialoguing with ChatGPT if we wanted a slightly different format. But generally speaking, this is exactly what I asked for, and that was the first exercise. First we did it in Excel, then we did it in ChatGPT. Let's go to the next exercise, exercise 2. Okay, in this exercise, we're trying to do a basic reconciliation. In other words, we're trying to compare two lists. The first text file is our check register. This contains a list of the checks that we wrote. The second text file is a download from our bank, and we want to find out which checks in our check register also appear on our bank download. In other words, which checks have cleared the bank. First we'll do this in Excel, then we'll do it in ChatGPT. Okay, so let's first start by getting this data from the text file into Excel, and of course there's different ways to do this. I'm going to copy paste, but we could also use Power Query. Let's cruise back to Excel, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste. All right, and here it recognized our data and it put it into 2 columns. As a side note, if it were to try to place that into 1 column, we could use something like text to columns to break it out. But here, it seemed to work fine. Now let's go get our bank data. Once again, I'm going to Control-C copy, and once again, we could have used Power Query, and I'm going to paste. I'll create a new column called cleared, and there's a couple of different functions we could use for this. I'm going to use XLOOKUP, and I'm going to say go find this, comma, over here, and I'll lock down that reference, and I want to return the values in here and lock that down. Okay, close function. So we could also use a different lookup function. If you're more comfortable with VLOOKUP, we could use that, and there's others, but for now, I'm just kind of demonstrating how we might approach this in Excel. Enter. And then let's go ahead and fill this down. We're getting a value when the check cleared the bank, and we're getting an error when the check did not clear the bank. Now, if we also wanted to calculate the difference, we could go equals this minus this, and we could fill this down. And that way we could spot the amounts when they're different. So for example, this cleared the bank for what we issued the check for. This is still outstanding, so we're getting an error. This one looks like it cleared for a different amount for some reason, and so did this one, so then we could investigate it. Now this is one way to do it in Excel. There are certainly others, and if I was doing this on a recurring basis, I might use something like Power Query. But now let's see if we can do this with ChatGPT. I will give you 2 sets of data, and I want you to reconcile it, meaning give me a list of checks that appear on both the check register and the bank download. Understand? Here is the check register. Let's cruise over to our text file. Let's cruise over here. Let's do Control-C copy, cruise back over here, and paste and go. Okay, now the bank download. Let's cruise over here, grab this, Control-C copy, cruise back over here, paste and go. Okay, I've identified the checks that appear in both the check register and the bank download. Okay, I want to say add a column that shows the amount from the bank download, and then another column that computes the difference. Okay, and let's take a look here. We have the check, we have the amount register, amount bank, and difference. And it spotted the same differences that we'd spotted in Excel. And we could download this if we wanted to. Out of curiosity, let's say, now give me a list of outstanding checks. I have identified the outstanding checks. These are checks from the check register that do not appear on the bank download. You can review this list now. And it's 2, 7, 9, and 10. Let's cruise back to Excel. 2, 7, 9, and 10. So I think it got it right. Okay. So that's reconciliations with Excel and ChatGPT. Let's go to the next exercise, exercise 3. Here we have a list of transactions, and we'd like to summarize it. So we'll do it first in Excel, then ChatGPT. To get this data into Excel, I'm going to copy paste. We could also use other techniques such as Power Query. Now, let's say I want to get some totals by department. This is Excel, different options. I'm going to use a pivot table. Insert pivot table. I'll put it in an existing worksheet, and I'll just put it right here. Go. All right, and I want to see it by department, and I want to see total amount. Okay, so now I've summarized it by department. Now let's say I wanted to see totals by month. Well, I could modify this pivot table or create another pivot table, but maybe we want to see it in a graph. All right, select this, insert pivot chart. I'll put it right here and go. So we'd want to insert date and amount, and let's go ahead and close this and just scooch this over here. And by the way, if you're not familiar with pivot charts, they basically display the results from a connected pivot table, which has been automatically created for us. So I'm just going to put this here, and now we've got it. And we could change this chart type to a line and make other modifications, but basically we get the idea. Now let's do the same thing with ChatGPT. I cruise back here, I copy all this, and I'm going to say summarize the data I will paste and show department totals. Understand. Paste, enter. Okay, and it comes up with these department totals. Out of curiosity, let's see how this compares to our Excel. We have accounting 1561 and 2365, 1561, 2365, and then let's just check a couple more. We have 4345 and 5634. 4345, 5634. Okay, so things seem to be checking out. Okay, now let's say create a chart with monthly totals. All right, and there we have it. And there's some chart controls here. So for example, we could download and we can make some other modifications, or we could continue dialoguing with ChatGPT to have it make additional changes. But this is basically what I was looking for. Okay, so how do we know which one to use in any given situation? Well, here's the way I think about it. My favorite benefits of using Excel is that it's easy to refresh next period when we set it up using Power Query and formulas. In today's examples, I use text to column and some other relatively manual techniques, but if this was something I was doing over and over, I would set it up to be fully automated through Power Query and some other Excel features. And that way, for recurring tasks, it's just a single click refresh. Plus, the other thing I like about Excel is I kind of have this audit trail. Like, I see the numbers, I know where they came from, I calculated the results, so I trust the results. So for me, it just kind of feels more comfortable. But if I can assure myself ChatGPT results are accurate, then it's a really nice option for many different tasks. So if this was a recurring task, I'd probably prefer Excel. But if it's a one-time task, I would definitely consider ChatGPT, especially if I can verify the results. So in any event, hopefully this video has been helpful. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Hey Excel user, if you ever need to create summary reports, check out my Pivot Table for Beginners video. It starts at the beginning and shows how to store the data transactions in a table and then how to summarize those transactions with a pivot table report. I hope it helps unlock the incredible power of pivot tables.
This video is a production of Excel University.